Okay, so here's some weird shit. Um, Now I apologize for not knowing all the names. Um, there was what, Isis and Osiris, I think. Um, Whatever. Osiris became the first mummy because basically there was, I want to say Isis. Whatever. There's two women and two dudes, and Osiris was one. Was the dude in question? Well, the other dude, basically, they each took a wife. I think sisters or whatever. Well, the two women were madly in love with Osiris, and the other dude was like, no. Well, anyways, his woman then takes off. She eventually grew to love him, but she still had feelings for Osiris. So she takes off one day, and dude is like, well, where'd the bitch go? Paraphrasing, obviously. Anyways, long story short, he discovers, I think both women, but at least the one, his woman, having sex with Osiris, essentially. At which point he devised this particular plan. I forget his name. It's irrelevant. He was a big hunter, and basically, no one could combat him. And Anubis is rolling around there. The dude in the sun, because Anubis was the underworld. Again, I wish I had it. I wish I had it all like planned out. Like I could tell you, names and shit. You can look it up online. There's a bunch of stuff. Anyways, he devised this plan to get back at Osiris. He made this sarcophagus that was supposedly the exact measurements of Osiris, and he set up this big party, this big elaborate get together. And almost like a door prize said, this fits, somebody perfectly. So everybody tried, everybody got in, tried, oh, it's too small, too big, too whatever. Well, Cyrus is like, hey, it fits perfect. What did I win? And dude is like, this is what you want, and he jams a knife into him. Proceeds to cut off his dick, his balls, his fingers, his eyes, cuts him up in like 41 pieces or 42. I think it's 40, 41 or 42 pieces, whatever it is. And of course, the two women are like, no, 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 no. He's like, fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, bitch. And then he scatters all 41 or whatever, 41 or 42, I think it's 41, pieces throughout Egypt. And the two women are kind of distraught, you know. Anyway, his woman goes back with him. Well, she gets kind of like poo-pooey and decides to take off and find the other woman. And somehow between the two of them, one of them gathers up all the pieces, all 41 pieces, puts it together, mummifies it so he becomes literally the first mummy. And then the two of them, women, begin to do this ritual seance thing where they try to revive him. Now, the whole point of the story is that they're running low on energy and they can't really do anything. Well, see, there was Anubis and it was somebody else there. I can't remember. All the while, the sun god, because the sun would set, it would go into the underworld. The sun didn't come up during this time because the dude was looking. He was in the underworld looking for Osiris's soul, his spirit, and for a while he couldn't find it. Now, I wonder if they had. I wonder if that concept of the sun didn't come up correlates with the Israelites when they were in the middle of the war and they had to, dude had to hold his hands up and the sun didn't move, kind of a deal. I wonder if there was like a correlation between the sun stopping and I don't know, because I wonder if there's like a connection there. Like it actually happened in real life, not just figuratively or whatever. Because the areas are I don't know. I don't know, but like as long as he had his arms up, the sun would stay, so they could fight. And in Egypt, the sun went down. It's almost the exact opposite. So again, I wonder if there wasn't a correlation between the two somehow. Whatever. Anyways, to make the story short, they find his soul, bring his soul back. They and there's two other dudes there. Now the one dude, the hunter, the fighter, like bursts down the door, bursts the wall down, and he's gonna kill everybody. He's like, fuck it. He's gonna knock everybody out. Well, the one guy's like, I can't fight you. You're like the best fighter. Blah blah blah. He disappears, and all of a sudden he's like, ethereal spirits show up or something, and they're afraid because they know they're gonna get their ass kicked. Well, you know, whatever. He did that to buy time, so that the two women could resurrect. And then the second dude, Anubis, was like, "Bloop, no, I'm gonna do the same thing." He disappears, like bloop, disappears in thin air, and then more of these warrior people, whatever the fuck they were, show up, and then both groups combine, and of course the dude just slaughters them all. And then one of the women, I can't remember which one. I don't think it was Isis. I think it was the other one. Whatever. She does the same thing and brings up people and disappears. So in others, they're buying time. And they're running low on their energy. Anyways, she eventually revives him. And the woman, just before the other woman left, she's like, take him and get the fuck out, basically. Well, they do. She revives him, takes him out, and they disappear from the temple, but because her power was so weak, she couldn't go very far. She couldn't teleport very far, essentially. And while this happens, she decides to thrust off all her clothes and proceeds to fuck him, Osiris, the mummy, to get impregnated. Okay. Well, during all this, dude, and this is his woman, by the way, sees this and is like, you know what, fuck you, I'm gonna kill you again. So basically, it's a story of death and resurrection, which is kind of a mockery of Christ, but whatever. So he's like, no, he tells what's her face to flee, take the child, go, and get the fuck out, and he proceeds to die again. Now, I don't know why I'm telling this story, but it was fascinating to me. Again, I wish I knew the names and whatever, but that's the gist of the story. And there people can tell it way better on like YouTube and shit. Anyways, so I was watching this show on the pyramid, and the reason I'm talking about this because I was watching that, and then I watched another show on the pyramid. Now, I'm telling you right now, that little Egyptian fucktard, that little whatever, whatever the hell his name is, he's in all the memes and shit. That curator for the Egyptian History Museum, or whatever the fuck his name is. That guy's a complete scumbag. He's a complete loser. The reason they will not excavate where they think the Hall of Records is, between the Sphinx feet or somewhere around that area, is because they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the current Egyptian people have no ties to Egypt past. They have no ties to it. They basically found the area, set up shop, and it basically became theirs. And it would be devastating to the people if we found out the actual truth that, yeah, they just found it. So that's the reason they will not, for the betterment of mankind bullshit. Well, now I always knew there was more than just your, Great Pyramid and the three pyramids in that area that line up with Orion's belt. I always knew there was more pyramids, but I never knew to the exact extent. Now, the kicker is that the river, now in Euphrates River, they're not in the same spot as they used to be. You can actually see a river bed, and up in the north, there's this one pyramid. What's different about the pyramid, actually, there's a couple things different about the pyramid. One, it's completely open. Like, you can look up and see the sky. And it looks like, to me, when I saw it, I was like, that looks like irrigation. That looks like something that you would flow water through. Okay, well, there's an area where there's clearly burn marks where they were burning, like there was a furnace there, like they were burning shit. And something was flowing through. They were warming, this is my opinion, they were warming the water. And the water was flowing from there, because it's up in the mountains. So if there was any rain, it would catch up in there, they'd warm it, and it would all flow back down. Now it would catch up with the Nile and the Euphrates and all that stuff. But if you look at where the pyramids are versus where the river is now, some of the pyramids are like 8 miles away, which make no sense. What makes more sense is if the river actually flew. Yeah, the river flew. The river flew. Oh my Christ. The river flowed. Excuse me. Yeah. Oh my God. Fucking illiterate. Incoherent, illiterate, and fucking stupid all at the same time. It flowed from pyramid to pyramid to pyramid all the way down. And we can see that there's actually riverbeds there. So the original rivers are not where they are, or not where they were today. Where they are today is not where they were, in other words. And what is cool about it is because you gotta understand what their sole purpose was. And this little curator of antiquities asshole wants everybody to believe, oh, the pyramids were built for tombs and shit. No. Why is it they go into some of these and there's like no writings, no anything? And there's just these shafts looking up at certain constellations and shit. You know why? You know why that is? Because that's not what they were for. Because if you look at any of this stuff, there's a few key components of the Egyptian culture. One, the way they set up death, that literally goes down the Nile River, and there's different stations and shit. I'm telling you, I think they set it up in real life. I think the river flowed from that one pyramid at the top of the mountain all the way down and hit every one of the little the pyramids all the way down through. And they were basically stations of the cross. And we can see that with the Great Pyramid, because depending on the solstice, winter, summer, the sun will set in between each one. Like, there's 3 of them, so it'll set in between either the first 2 or the second 2. And as a direct result, the sun will hit certain areas certain ways. Now, I'm trying to word this properly. When we build stuff today, what are some of the biggest things that we build? We build dams. We build things of that nature. Why are we building a dam? For electricity. Now, it gets a little weird, but not really if you actually look into it. Underneath the pyramids, there's these tunnels, and when they fill up with water, it creates electrical charge. Apparently, now I don't know about this, I've never done this, but apparently you can go in your own sink, and if you can split the water, like to come down in 2 different sections, the part in between, if you have one of those little tiny lights, eventually there's enough electrical whatnot in there that it'll light the fucking light bulb. And there's speculation that the pyramids were basically free energy. Because why did they have the caps? Because if you look at the granite, which gives off certain, I forgot what they said. It was some sort of radiation, some sort of, not radiation, but it was it gives off something. I can't remember what they said. But when you see the caps, the stone caps that they originally had, I think there was a red, a white, and a black. Um, they have like no conductor. There's like nothing. They're basically nothing. And it's almost the equivalent of like when you see a cord today, like any cord. You've got the copper wires and shit inside, and you've got the cord, which is basically just, you know, to keep it in, to keep everything to, where you don't get shocked and shit. That's kind of what they were suggesting that these caps were. Now again, it sounds a little hokey and it sounds a little weird, but we got to ask ourselves: is it possible? Because here's the thing: they had, even if it isn't true, they had all the components to make electricity. They did. Everything there, whether it's the Baghdad battery, which they're trying to denounce, everything, all that shit, there's proof that they have these things, because we see these things, they are there. Now, whether they had them all in conjunction with one another to actually make it happen, I don't know. But the elements are there. It could very well have been a truth. Now, with the river hitting all the pyramids, because you got to understand, two of the main things of the Egyptian culture is when they die, they put them on they basically take the trip through, down the Nile. Well, if this was the equivalent of the Nile back then, we're talking pre-flood. It basically could have been, it could have, I don't know. And then if you throw in the whole electricity aspect, like they actually had electrical towers. Essentially, that's what the pyramids were. Because, again, I want to explain it so it, something to do with the water underneath fills up the caves, and the way it does, it creates an electrical charge. Because another thing is, there's certain ley lines in the earth where, and this even goes into like Tesla and all this other bullshit, because Tesla wanted to create free energy, which I believe free energy is everywhere. I mean, you fart, it's free energy, realistically. Dams, free energy. There's free energy everywhere. And there's certain ley lines, and if you notice where the lines connect, there's usually a pyramid there. Or there's some sort of building there. There's some sort of monument there. It's actually really kind of cool when you think about what actually was taking place. And then you take into consideration like the Sphinx, and there's literal water weathering. You can't deny that. There's fucking water weathering to, I mean, oh, another thing, the pyramids at the bottom, I think they said granite. I could be wrong on that. They have a granite bottom. I think the pyramids were actually surrounded by water at one point. Because those, in other words, they didn't just build the pyramids along the river bank. I think they put it right in the river itself. That water was heated at the top and then flowed all the way down. And we're talking the entire stretch. And I don't know what that would do. Like, it seemed like it would eventually cool down, but I don't know. But I guess it depends on what happens when it gets to the first pyramid. And you got the electrical, and maybe it warmed. I don't know. But then you throw the whole concept of, the Pharaoh going down the Nile, and the whole trials and tribulations, and the heart being lighter than a feather at the end, all that bullshit. And then you look, You you look at the fucking pyramids themselves, and you have those shafts that are going up towards certain constellations and shit. You electrify that, and you got the dead body going through. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Because again, you have to ask yourself, why did they build these things? Oh, just because, or oh, because they had nothing else to do and they wanted to worship their gods and blah blah blah. Well, yeah, their gods came from the heavens, you know, and their gods taught them things, and they did these monuments and shit to their gods. But I think there's a bit more to it than that. Now you throw in the electrical concept, the electrical grid, pre-flood electrical grid. I mean, think about that. You would have reason to build a lot of big ass pyramids. Just like we build, you know, towers today for our cell phone towers and shit. Same concept. Um, and again, the weird thing is the science is actually there. It sounds hokey. Oh, the pyramid was just this big electrical thing. No, there's actually science there that says this could have very well been the case. Not saying it was, but all the elements that you need are there. Now, I don't know why somebody just doesn't do, you know, a model of that, make a small model of the situation, and then, you know, see what happens, but whatever. But yeah, again, this goes into Tesla and shit, and fucking Edison, who can kiss my dick, and the fucking J.P. Morgan assholes, which ties into fucking Trump, by the way. Oh my god. Yeah, because freaking Tesla wanted to give free energy to everybody. And these motherfuckers, oh, well, we can't make profit off of it. Goddamn capitalism. That's why we're pumping out fucking dead dinosaurs out of our fucking car. Combustion engine bullshit. We're polluting the fucking world. All because they don't want to give us free energy. Because, God forbid, we had free energy. And they can't make a dime off of it. That's literally all it comes down to. That is why we do not have these things. Think about it. Imagine if the oil industry was completely for naught. How many billions of dollars? The Bushes wouldn't have been anything. They would have been nothing. They wouldn't have been president. They would have been nothing. Absolutely disgusting. Because, I'm sorry, these motherfuckers had technology we don't understand today. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Even if, you know, now okay, I could kind of get cute and speculate, oh, maybe giants built it. Because now, another interesting thing, speaking of that, when you look back at the oldest stuff, the rocks were huge. You look at the stuff that was newer, the rocks were smaller. And you can clearly see with the naked eye, okay, this was one set, clearly different than this set. I don't know, were there giants in the day? I don't know. Maybe there really were giants in the day. Maybe that's why the blocks are so fucking big. You know? Who knows? But then we still gotta ask ourselves, how'd they cut them? Oh, another thing, they got these crystal quartz. And, oh, by the way, crystal quartz is used in, like, everything electronical that we have today. And here's another thing. I noticed this, and this is just me, and I'm just going to throw it out there. When they showed the pyramid, and they showed the shafts, and you were talking about, you know, if the water underneath created electrical field, especially where it is on the ley line, and those shafts got electrically charged. When I looked at that, I swear to God, it looked like something you'd see on a motherboard. It had that line, that layout. I'm not suggesting anything, but that's just what it looked like to me. Again, take it for what it's worth. You know, because again, the Bible says shit like, you know, as in the days of Noah. So, in other words, if that is a truth, and we believe Christ to have not been a liar, unlike Trump, whatever, then guess what? They would have had to have had electricity. They would have. pre-flood would have had to have electricity. They would have had to have the equivalent of a computer. They would have had to have had the equivalent of such things. They would have. If that is the truth, then they would have had to have had those things. And I don't know. It could explain why there's pyramids all around the world. It could explain why cultures who supposedly, from our understanding of bullshit, by the way, were basically doing the exact same thing. Now, you could maybe tie in the Tower of Babel. So I think it was more the Tower of Babel. They all were together creating this tower into heaven, and then when the languages got all fucked up, they all kind of dispersed, went their own way, and had nothing else to do, and it was like, oh, let's continue our plan with the people who could speak the language that they were speaking. So they all kind of went off and did their own thing. And then what happened was, now, I think they built a lot of stuff pre-flood, and then when the flood hit, they got wiped away, and then people literally coming out of the ark found it and like, oh, let's set up shop here, which is exactly why they will not do any type of excavation. There's this one sarcophagus that was blown up. It literally was blown up, and it was an explosion on the wall nearby. You can actually see it. There's burn marks and shit. Now, one of two things happened. Either something was inside the sarcophagus and blew itself out, which is scary. I mean, maybe there's a mummy in there and it farted. Some gas came out and, over millennia, and, it blew up. I don't know. Or that fucking little antiquities asshole is destroying evidence of the fact that the Egyptian people currently are not the same who built the original shit pre-flood. Because he'd be basically out of a job. He'd have no ties to that shit. His people would have no ties to that shit. They would just be like random idiots who found it. I don't know. Because, I mean, let's be honest. You look at the Egyptian culture right now, even at its best, even in its best cities. I mean, what's y'all saying about how the mighty have fallen? Holy Christ. I mean, you literally got kids running around with no shoes, running around in dirt. Yet they built pyramids? Please. Please. They didn't build shit. None of us did. But I'm telling you, it's fascinating when you think about it. Absolutely fascinating. Because again, what was their sole purpose? What was their reason for being? It was to honor the gods. So, and who are the gods? They came from the heavens. What was in the heavens? The stars. They thought the stars were their gods. They thought the stars were the angels. They thought they were the gods. So, that explains a lot. And again, here's an interesting thing. When you look at the Sphinx, and the way it's angled toward Leo, and the way the Great Pyramid and the other two pyramids are lined up with Orion's Belt, and then you see, and there's Sirius is part of it too. Oh, that's Sirius, dude. There's something fucking crazy about that damn star. I'm telling you about it. I sat there that one night and watched that fucker blink patterned lights, red, green, yellow, blue, blah, 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 over and over and over and over again. I'm like, you motherfucker, it's doing something. There's something about that fucking star. I was sitting there watching it. I was sitting on the porch probably 3, 4, or 5 years ago, and I'm pointing up at it. It's like midsummer, and I'm pointing up at it. I'm like, you motherfucker. Whatever. I'm telling you, there's something about that star, and that star's in cahoots with the whole thing. And if you look at where the sun goes across the sky, it goes through all that shit, and it ties up with the way the Sphinx is facing. Because apparently the Egyptians don't have a word for death. Their word for death is basically westerly or western, whatever. In other words, to the west, where the sun sets. And because again, it's all about the sun going into the underworld. And Pharaoh goes into the underworld. And Anubis, so on and so forth. All that shit ties together. And then it's rebirthed in the East. It's rebirth the next day. So they had no understanding of like actual death. They believed, yeah, you died, but then you get rebirthed, which is kind of biblical when you think about it. Because again, they learned from the sun, they learned from the gods, essentially. And if the gods were giving them an energy source through natural means, a source of magic, why wouldn't you build pyramids that are that big? And then you throw in like Nephilim, fuckers, and fallen angels and shit, pre-flood. You falling in that shit? Because there's no way. I mean, shit, you look at what they say. They literally say that the gods came and told them how to do this stuff. The gods gave them language. The gods gave them agriculture ideas. God gave them tools and weapons, by the way. It's crazy shit. Because I'm telling you, somebody just waking up every day, going out, hunting and gathering and getting food, is not going to sit there and think, oh, gee, there's a ley line over here where there's this magnetic thing. Let's build a pyramid, and it'll create energy, and we can have light at night, or whatever. They're not. I mean, nobody's going to come up with that. There's no like trial and error with that. I mean, I doubt you're going to have some prehistoric archaeologist gonna be like, oh, let's try this, and then, I don't know, man. But it's absolutely fascinating because one of the cool things is apparently I don't know, I can't remember which pyramids it is, but there's like these huge cracks in these pyramids, and there's also this idea of sound waves and sound frequencies and shit. Like you go into certain caves, like the step pyramids, and they have those ones that are bowed out. Now the little antiquities fucker wants to be like, well, it's just that was their first attempt, and it just didn't work out, and blah blah blah. Dude, you're not gonna just build a fucking pyramid like that, and oh, it just didn't work out. Okay, I'm sorry. Not when you can cut stone, move stone, put it into place, have the entire potential Nile. And again, if you look at the riverbed, you can see the riverbed went right through where every one of those pyramids are. So there was a river going through that shit from point A to point B all the way down through. If you're going to build something like that, know how to build something like that, then what you're building has a purpose. You may not know what that purpose is. You may not even know where the plants come. Because again, these motherfuckers were like into mysticism and shit, and the whole looking into like different, I don't know, dimensional shit. I don't want to get like Alex Jones on you, but like reflecting pool type stuff. They were into magic and shit, and like talking to other dimensional beings who, again, they're gods. Their gods taught them how to do certain things. Their gods taught them how to do these things. Now, I mean, I don't know. What if they were built by fallen angels? What if that shit was built by fallen angels? Fallen angels came unto men, or came unto women, excuse me, gave birth to essentially the Titans. I mean, seriously, if you look at the way all that ties in, the Titans are the Nephilim. They're the fallen angels' offspring. And there's probably some truth to those quote unquote myths, you know? There probably are truth to that shit. I don't know. Could there have been huge giants? There were. See, because here's another kicker. This is what is interesting to me. Dinosaurs could not live in today's environment. There's not enough oxygen. They would not survive. First off, they wouldn't grow that big and they wouldn't survive. So, the theory is that pre-flood, Earth was far more oxygenated. Now, if dinosaurs could grow that big, why couldn't something else? You know? Now, could dinosaurs theoretically be just like alligators and shit, and they just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. Something like that. Obviously, there was different species and shit that just simply don't exist today, obviously. But were they meant to be that big? Obviously in the time frame they were. But like, if you could, you know, Jurassic Park that shit, would they grow up to be that big today? Probably not. In fact, I can almost guarantee they wouldn't. You may have the same species, but it's like, how they breed dogs. They got the little toy dogs, and then you got the big hoofer fucker dogs. It's a matter of breeding, actually. So it's like, I don't know. Could a human being grow that big? And here's the thing: we know that giganticism is an actual thing. I mean, look at Andre the Giant. Look at Big Show. Look at some of these fuckers in the NBA who are like 7, 8 feet tall. We know that happens. And the kicker is, most of those guys don't live very long. So, I don't know. You put them in a higher oxygenated area. I don't know. Could they grow 35 feet? I know that sounds weird. I know it sounds hokey. I get that. It sounds, tinfoil hat-ish. Could they? I don't see why they couldn't. I mean, again, it sounds stupid. The problem is you can't really say there's no evidence. Because there was evidence and then it got destroyed. Something. Like, I don't know. I don't know about that. But I wouldn't be surprised if people do destroy that kind of stuff. Because it doesn't fit the norm. It doesn't fit the narrative of what people want to believe. Like, seriously, if you found something that proved that God existed, and a bunch of people who don't care about God, I'm using that as one example, they're going to cover it up. Again, why don't we have free energy? Because these motherfuckers can't make money off of it. Dude, do you realize that if you took the control of religion and the church, especially Catholic Church, out of the equation, they have no power. They have nothing. They have nothing. Especially, again, you look at the Catholic Church. These motherfuckers actually sold pardons for people's sin at one point. You understand? They actually sold them for fucking money. Do you understand that? Because that's all religion is. It's just a form of control. And you put all that shit into it's everything. Everything is used to control people. So let's say history proved, there were giants. They did build the pyramids. The pyramids did create electrical current. They did have light bulbs. They did have these things. Let's just say that's truth. You say, well, that's far-fetched. Is it? Is it far-fetched? The thing is, I'd have to say it wouldn't be far-fetched because we have that shit today. If it's here today, then it was there tomorrow. Now, it doesn't mean they had access to it or the ability to create it. At least not on their own. Whatever. But again, there's the old saying, there's nothing new under the sun. So if it was here today, then obviously it was... So, for example, they could have had flying machines. They could have. They could have. I'm not saying they did. I'm saying they could have. Obviously, because we know it exists. Like, back in the day, it was like, oh, man can never fly. Well, Wright brothers proved them wrong. Now we can fly. We can fly above the clouds. Okay. So you think, like, in the future, what are some of the things that we think are impossible? Teleportation, is that impossible? I don't think it's impossible. I mean, shit, the story I told at the beginning of this, you had people teleporting away out of the temple. Now, I'm not saying it's one and the same, or that's not just a quote-unquote myth and not an actual realistic story. It could have been just a story made up to explain why we mummify people, or why we do these things, as a collective. It could have been like a parable. Doesn't necessarily mean the parable had to be a true story. It could be, or it could be a real story. I mean, it could be either or. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could, whatever. But again, there's so much shit we can't explain, and we just like, yeah. Because what's hard for us to get our mind around that is we've been told since birth that, oh, the ancient people, they were just ooga booga cavemen, grab one by a hair with a club and go out and, beat up a woolly mammoth and eat it, and, wrap its skin around its body, around your body for warmth. They were a bunch of Neanderthalic fucks, basically. Well, I don't know. Could a bunch of Neanderthals create a fucking pyramid? Fuck what its purpose was. Its true and purpose was, whether it was a burial tomb or whether it was some sort of, you know, hydroelectric. Because, dude, there was definitely water there because they had literal granite around the outer perimeter, the bottom part of the pyramids. And I'm telling you, I think the pyramids were surrounded by water. I do. It would look almost like something like you'd see the reflecting pool in DC. It'd be kind of that, that kind of look. Can you imagine that? And there's like trees and plants and shit. Because we look at it now, it's all desert, and it's like we can't wrap our mind around that because what we see, we can't get past that. We objectify. See, it's like I say before. It's like, oh, objectify women. Everybody objectifies me, so fuck you. They take one look at me and they objectify me. We objectify everything. I look, dog poops on the floor. I objectify that and say I'm going to move around it. I don't just walk into it if I can help it. So we objectify it. We look at it now and it's just this desert and it's desolate and nothing. That doesn't mean that's how it always was. Well, they couldn't have had electricity because it doesn't fit the narrative. Well, fuck the narrative. You've got to ask yourselves, the people who are giving us the narrative, what's their motivation? What's their purpose? You look at the Egyptians. What was their motivation? The gods. What was their purpose? The stars. You look at the people now. What's their motivation? Well, the Egyptian people today, we just happen to stumble upon this area. We set up shop. We started building we started building temples and shit, Khufu and Fufu and Poo-Poo and all these other fuckers, and these big elaborate monuments and bullshit. Okay. But there was clearly stuff there before, and then stuff from a different point of view. Again, you look at the main pyramids, the pyramids in question, there was no writing. There was no decorative. Maybe they decorated the outer perimeter, like the capstone around the outside of the. They may have done that because it'd be like an eyesore. Basically, it'd be the equivalent of we have all these windmills and shit. These not windmills. Those whatever those things are. Wind farms, and it looks like an eyesore. So yeah, you got one that's black, you got one that's red, you got one that's white, you got maybe some little Egyptian hieroglyphs on it. It's all nice and smooth and it looks really nice. We do the same thing. In fact, we have done the same thing. Nothing about you go to those power grids and you see those big wonking towers. Dude, those things used to scare me as a kid, especially watching like Transformers and shit. I always used to think those things would like come alive because they always had that like it almost looked like they had legs and arms like this mechanical. It always freaked me out as a kid. But like those are eyesores. Imagine if we cleaned it up and did something and had like a capstone over that kind of an idea. It's a similar thing. Because again, these fucking people first off, they would not build an elaborate pyramid 8 miles away from a water source. It's just not going to happen. And especially if they're doing it for electrical purposes. And who knows, maybe that's what they used to communicate with their gods too. Maybe that's what they used. You don't know that. We don't know that. So there was a practical application to it. There was a spiritual application. I mean, what better way to get people involved? You got a practical and a spiritual application. I mean, imagine if I could call on God and literal physical matter changed to my whim. Like, oh God, give me a cheeseburger, and boom, one just appears. That'd be awesome, actually. By the way, I'd like a cheeseburger, but whatever. Imagine if you could do that. Now the gods that they're looking into, whatever magic they're using, whatever sorcery they're using, these little, DMT alien, what do they refer to? Machine elves or whatever the fuck they're called. These little scumbag fuckers are telling them, oh yeah, build this and build that and do this and here's specifications how to do it. You don't know. I don't know. Or the freaking Nephilim motherfuckers did it. You know? You don't know. You don't know. They would have had that knowledge. Fallen angels would have had that knowledge. I mean, okay, here's the thing. What if the fallen angels communicated that information, aka the gods, to those motherfuckers and they went and built that shit? What if people didn't actually build that shit at all? Think about that. That's the thing, we don't know. Now it's speculation and it's all this other stuff. And we really need to get more into science fact instead of science fiction. I understand that. But there's more science fact in the probability of that they used it for something other than just burial tombs where there's no sign of even room for a fucking burial vault, whatever. And there's all these little shafts going up to the different. Because again, you look at the Book of the Dead and the Nile and the travel that the Pharaoh would take down the freaking Nile, and he hits these pyramids and there's these energy things and they're shooting off toward different star patterns and shit. I don't know, man. That to me makes a lot more sense than just burial tombs. Burial tombs. No, there were no burial fucking tombs. There are burial tombs, but not there. Not for that. They've never found that. No, I'm not. Whatever. Actually, I shouldn't say that. They did find one sarcophagus in an area, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. They could have been using it for something. It could have had a purpose. We don't know that. We don't really know. But we don't know either way. It could have been a burial, that one. Who knows? Whatever. It could have gone either way. And actually, I think that's one that was they exploded. That's the one they blew up. Now again, either something blew up from inside, or they blew it up to, hide evidence. Because again, the Egyptian people and the curators and all these other little fuckers and that little goofy bulldog looking motherfucker. And you know who I'm talking about. I can't remember his name. If he and his people do not have ties to that shit, and they're just random jabronis who happen to, a bunch of nomads who just happen to decide to set up shop there and call it their own, then they have no authority. They have no stroke. They have nothing. And that's all it ever comes fucking down to. People want to have stroke, and they have none. They have none. And they need to find it at all costs. They need to make money off something. Because guess what? You put money on it, then you control people. You want to give them free energy? No. We need to control them. Because guess what? You can keep paying for it. I pay for my fucking electric every goddamn month. Imagine if I didn't have to. Imagine if I didn't have to. Not granted, I don't want to be saving about $40 a month, but still. As Graham would say, better in my pocket than theirs. So I don't know. It's fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. Now, I'm not one of these people like, oh, the aliens built it. Well, it depends on how you define alien. If you're talking interdimensional alien, demonic, maybe. If you're talking E.T., you know, spacely sprockets flying overhead, fuck that shit. No. No. I don't believe in no. It is infinitely more likely anything quote unquote alien is coming from this planet. Now, whether it's coming from the future, whether it's coming from technology that our government hasn't let us be privy to, whatever. It's infinitely more likely that it's coming from here and now. Another dimension, dimensional beings is far more likely than ET. They just are. Not saying it can't be, but it's infinitely more likely. Because, I mean, I don't know. There's too many variables and probable problems with a race of alien beings who just happen to come here and they're checking us out. It's not impossible, but what's the old saying about the easiest solution is usually the right answer, kind of a deal. Is probably because again, think about this. Why would an alien race fly 100 million galactic light years to Earth for whatever fuck reason, and then in the middle of the night blink lights in the sky and go beep 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 over across the fucking Utah desert? Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? The Utah prairie, whatever. Are you kidding me? Really? It's like, we don't want to be seen. Beep, 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 beep. Lights are blanking and shit. I mean, come on, dude. Give me a break. It is infinitely more likely that it's the fucking government. I mean, shit. There's stories of freaking Hitler having saucers. And who picked up all that information? We did. We took all those stupid scientists, Albert Einstein, all these other motherfuckers, set up shop, and they were working for us. Okay, so whatever they were working on, because right around that time we started doing all these weird experiments and shit, and staring at goats and bullshit. Don't even get me started with that stuff. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like it's so easy to believe something that just isn't true, but something that could very well be true. Like, for example, Egypt, pre-flood, whatever, clearly had technology that we can't understand. They clearly cut those stones to the point where you couldn't even put a razor blade in between them. That's how close together these things were. And they were into mysticism, and they were into things like that. They were doing some crazy shit. Drug-induced crazy shit. They were staring into reflecting pools. They had monoliths and shit. They were building huge things. They worshipped certain things. Their whole premise was behind a certain thing. But yeah, we look at that and like, well, they were just stupid. They were uneducated. They're not like we are today. We're so smart. We found 2 chips of bone in a piece of pottery and we know all prehistory. That to me is dumb. Like they found this little piece of bone and it's like, oh, it's a new human species. Really? 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 Show me a whole fucking skeleton. Give me a break. No, I'm not gonna discourage that concept. Maybe there were variants. Who knows? I mean, again, Adam and Eve. Adam was created out of the dust. What is the dust? Essentially skin cells. Dead, dry skin cells. Which essentially means God, or whatever terraformer you want to call him, be it an extra-dimensional being, another dude from another planet, or even a Sumerian asshole from this one. I don't know how that would work, but hell, it could be somebody from the fucking future. It could have been a Sumerian who went into the future, somehow got technology and went back. Who the fuck knows? Who knows? Whatever it was, God, a spirit being, a physical dude, it doesn't matter. Something terraformed this planet. It did. Because if this planet formed like any other planet, with the exception of, distance from the sun, moon being almost the exact right size that we need, basic stuff like that. Like, for example, Mars. Why didn't Mars terraform into something? You know? Yeah, okay, it's a little further away and blah, blah, blah. But it could have terraformed into something close. Did it terraform into anything? No. Only Earth. Now, again, you could say because it's exactly what we need. Which is kind of ironic when you think about that. Seriously, it's the exact distance from the sun. The moon is the exact distance from Earth and the exact size that we need to have life as we know it. Think about that. Think about the mathematical probabilities of that happening. Now, is it possible in the universe? Maybe. Maybe there's another planet out there. Who knows? But we have to ask ourselves, where did everything else come from? Oh, amino acids and blah, 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 and this and that. No. I'm sorry. That... I don't know. I don't want to totally dismiss that concept, but there are far better, far easier ways to explain it. I'm not saying they're right, I'm saying there's easy ways to explain it that is more probable than just, let's take a bunch of shit and hope it, happens to just magically form into shit. And don't tell me that's exactly, in a nutshell, what it is. It is. It is infinitely more likely that someone terraformed this fucking planet. It is. Again, where did the first cell come from? I don't know. That's the problem. Even if you had all these things that turned into this and turned into that and blah, 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 and just magically kind of formed together, where did the first whatever, pick your poison, where did it come from? All cells come from pre-existing cells, yet where did the first cells come from? I don't know. It just randomly happened and there's one skin cell. Whatever. Anyways, what I was saying, whoever the terraformer was, whoever the god was, whoever the being was, Sumerian or whatever, E.T. whatever, E.T. phone home, he's nuts, whatever. He formed Adam out of the dust, which means he took DNA, because yes, DNA can, under the right circumstances, go into the soil. You could easily take that. And again, what is dust? Dust is basically dead, dry skin cells. The dirt, the dust. He took DNA that was here and manipulated it. And quote-unquote created man in his own image. And again, if you look at the chromosomes, it looks like there's two chromosomes that look like they had been fused together in a lab. I don't know. A lot of people are saying that. So it is what it is, I guess. But again, what's cool about that is Eve was then taken from his rib. She is an actual clone. So when it says that Adam and Eve were essentially husband and wife, they're not kidding. The whole point of sex is to become one with the other person. They were as one as you're going to get. Okay. And now, again, another cool part of that is apparently when you're doing clones, it's easier to make a female for whatever reason. It's just easier to make female. So to clone Eve from Adam's rib, and that's exactly what they did. It's exactly what that story is saying. It was easier to create a female. I don't know. So it's like, again, what I'm trying to say is we have, I don't want to talk about that anymore. We have all this fake understanding of what it's supposed to be because we were told, like, for example, here's the thing. I'm sorry, you don't know the Earth is round. You do not, and I'm not going to get into flat Earth bullshit. Now, if we're talking 3 dimensions, then there has to be 2 dimensions, so Earth is flat on some level. Take it for what it's worth. Because you can't have 3D without 2D. You can't have 4D without 3D. It's math, dude. It's basic math. I mean, I'm sorry, it is. But we have this understanding that, oh well, they tell us it's this and they tell us it's that, and therefore it has to be. Have you been seriously? Have you been outside of the planet's orbit or outside of the planet's atmosphere? Excuse me. No, you have not. You don't know it's round. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying you don't know it's not. I don't know it's not. You understand? Just sight of what my eyes can see, I don't know if the rest of the world exists. You have to understand that. This could all be an illusion. This could all be my illusion. And you're going to scoff and be like, Earth isn't flat, and blah, 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 just to come at me to try to make my illusion more realistic. And seriously, what if your sole purpose is just simply to do that kind of stuff? Think about that. You have no other purpose except for to make my reality, my virtual reality, more believable. Kids in Ethiopia are getting killed in hunger pains and bloated little bellies and shit. Just to reinforce my understanding of this reality. Think about that. I can't tell you that. I haven't experienced it. I don't know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that's not a truth. I don't even know we're on a planet, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you that. I could be in a fucking bubble somewhere with electrodes shoved up my ass and in my head being pumped fake information. I mean, that is what the brain is. The brain literally is receiving information and electrical signals from my senses and certain things around me. I mean, seriously, you take any type of hallucinogenic drug, is that shit real? I don't know. It's real to me. Is it real in real life? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe there's a veil or a filter, and the minute you take those drugs, that veil and filter go away, and you see the world for what it really is. Maybe these trips that people take is what the world really looks like, or maybe it's their brain being distorted. It could go either way. That's the kicker. You don't know. Is it really what the world looks like? Because right now we could be living in a delusion. Think about that. Imagine if we were in a delusion and it really is blood dripping from the walls and, cats flying in the sky eating dick. I mean, who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows? You don't know that. I don't know that. So what is real? None of us can tell. But yet you know beyond a shadow of a doubt the Earth is round. Well, it has to be because blah, blah, blah. Does it? I mean, if you're sitting in a chair somewhere in the Matrix and they got shit pumped into your head, does the Earth have to be round? Not really. Because technically, Earth is flat. It's flat in a three-dimensional setting, so technically, yes, Earth is flat. Look at the ground; it is flat. Now, yes, you go from point A and keep going straight, you'll eventually come back around. So, yes, okay, it's circular, but it's flat. Now, obviously, there are certain biblical concepts where it's like, oh, there's the 4 pillars, and yeah, again, if you're talking two-dimensionally, maybe there are pillars. Who knows? Because think about that. What if the Bible, when it refers to flat Earth, is not talking in a three-dimensional world? What if it's talking two-dimensionally? Because a three-dimensional object being portrayed in a two-dimensional world would look like what the Bible says Earth looks like. Now imagine a three-dimensional Earth in a fourth-dimensional time, where it continuously exists, and There's different variables and things of that nature. Now imagine a fifth dimension, a sixth dimension, seventh dimension, so on and so forth. And it just keeps getting bigger and more profound. How does that work? I don't know. Again, you look at the fourth dimension. So imagine Earth right now transcending space and time, where it was here from when it was created to whenever it's going to be destroyed. It technically coexists with itself on all those levels in a fourth dimension. We all do. Again, we're presently seated in heavenly places, yet within the time stream we haven't got there yet. So guess what? There's a part of me, spiritually, that's in heaven with God, all the while right now my physical body is still alive. And those two things do fold in on each other. I am currently seated in heavenly places right now. But yet I'm not. How is that to be? It's the fourth fucking dimension. I mean, so again, if you put all this stuff into perspective, what do we really know? What do we really know? Oh, I read it in a book, or I saw it on YouTube, or, you know what? I saw that Donald Trump is our fucking president. If that doesn't scare the shit out of you, I don't care if you're the most whatever diehard conservative. The fact you're putting your trust in a guy who's a complete asshole like that. I'm not saying Obama was an asshole. I'm not saying Bush wasn't an asshole. Reagan wasn't an asshole. I'm not saying any of these guys were assholes. They all were assholes. But Trump is probably the biggest asshole to come down the pike in a very, very long time. You may not have liked Obama's politics, but at least he had some sensibility of a human soul. This guy's got putrid dog shit for a soul. This guy is absolutely horrible. You know what? I would even give the fucking Bushes and Cheney. I'd give Dick and Bush more credibility as being human fucking beings than I would Donald Trump. And you know they wanted to go to war. You know they wanted to start a war. They lied to get us into fucking war. They had Colin Powell lie to get us into war. Yet these people have more of a soul than fucking this guy. And again, I don't fuck your politics. Fuck your politics. The guy is a legitimate scumbag. He was a scumbag and he still is a scumbag. And even what's sad about the situation, even your most diehard Trump supporters would be like, yeah, he's kind of a scumbag, but he's not a real politician. He's just one of us. He's one of us. He's not a real politician. That guy's a scumbag. The guy is a legitimate scumbag who would sell you out for a fucking hamburger. I guarantee you. You give that motherfucker a McDonald's cheeseburger, he gonna sell your shit out. Okay, and don't tell me you believe otherwise. I don't care how Sean Hannity light you are, motherfucker. You know beyond a shadow of a doubt he would sell your shit down the river. It's just a fact. So again, we believe things that may or may not actually be true. How much of it have we actually proven ourselves? Again, have you proven that the Earth is round? Well, so-and-so said it, NASA said it, blah, 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 blah. Really? Really? I'm going to trust NASA, who took $5 billion to fucking set up a rover that flipped over once on Mars and then couldn't flip back over and it was dead? $5 billion later? When I could have taken a fucking Tonka truck off fucking Walmart store shelf and done the exact same goddamn thing? And it probably would still be working today? $5 billion? Yet, oh, you're going to trust them. I will trust NASA the day they put a shuttle into space and have cameras 360 around that motherfucker, instead of this little half-ass zoned area where it's like, oh, we see a little bit of Earth and a little bit of the tailpipe. No, motherfucker, I want to look out. I want to see. I don't care if it's just black screen the whole fucking time. What are they afraid of showing me out there? They're afraid of something. I'm telling you, they're afraid. Whether you're going to see the water bubbles or some bullshit, they're afraid of it. They're fucking afraid of it. And every time they do, something flies by. Oh, it's just space junk. Something flies by. There's shit out there, motherfucker. There's something out there, and they're afraid to show it. Because again, look at every one of their feeds. They show the tailpipe, and then they show a little bit of the earth. That's it. Now, again, I want cameras, and good cameras too, by the way, because it's fucking NASA, for Christ's sake. I want good cameras all the way around. Again, I don't care if it's black fucking screen. I don't care if it's a 360 panoramic black fucking screen. I want to see space as it is. They won't show it. They refuse to show it. And they refuse to fucking show it. I'm telling you, they're covering shit up. First off, it's a government agency. When's the last time a government agency's ever been truthful about anything? If it doesn't meet the agenda, then you ain't gonna find out about it. I mean, seriously. American taxpayers spend how many millions of dollars on a freaking Mueller report, yet these motherfuckers won't give it out? Well, certain things have to be redacted. Okay. But you can't give me the fucking report? Taxpayers paid for this shit, but they can't read it? But yet, they could read Ken Starr's report about a fucking blowjob. Yet, possible collusion, possible ties with the Russians, possible using the White House for personal gain of your family interest, setting up things and doing things and using the political aspect to gain power and control. Yeah, sure, we don't need to see none of that, but we'll see every single page about a fucking blowjob. Really? Really? They're the exact same motherfucker. They're the exact same people. Edison, right straight on through. If they can't make a dime off it, fuck you, get nothing. If they can't make money off of it, you don't get it. That's why we don't have flying cars today, because, whatever. That's what it all comes down to. That's literally all it comes down to. Can you make a fucking buck off of it? Can you control people? And this is religion, this is politics, this is everything. God even, and you can put it all in there. Because religion and God are not the same thing. Religion and faith are not the same thing. Even faith to a point. Depends on what people are telling you to have faith in. There's a control there. If I read my Bible and it says, have faith in this, this, and this, even that technically is control on some level. But you can say, okay, well, I agree with that. But now all of a sudden Pastor so-and-so comes along and says, you got to have faith in the Republican Party. Next thing you know, you're controlled by Sean Hannity's bullshit because he wants to get in bed with Trump because he wants, he wants to push his bullshit agenda because his fucking people who are paying him to put this shit over and make people believe it. It's fucking garbage. All of it. Straight fucking garbage. Now, again, I'm not saying that the Earth isn't round, but I'm saying you don't know it's round. You can't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's round. Well, there's the certain summer solstice, and the sun runs across the sky, and you see the little arc and the thing, and 2 plus 17, and plus 4 minus 74 equals 66474, and that proves that the Earth is round. No, it doesn't. You know what it proves? That you're a sucker. It proves that you're not a thinking person. You're willing to be a sheep. You're willing to go along and say, they said it was round, so it must be round. Same thing. Same thing with being flat Earth, too. I'm not saying, it's got to be flat. No. Listen. Could the Earth be flat? I don't know. I've never been out there. I can't tell you. Egyptians believed it was flat. Now, obviously, they didn't know any better. You can make that argument, sure. Which, I don't know. Well, here's the thing. If they're getting information from quote-unquote the gods are trying to control them too. So, where'd the sun go? It went to the underworld. It's flat Earth. It went to the underworld. Where do you go when you die? The underworld. So Anubis is out there rooting around. Again, it's all about power and fucking control. Our entire lives, we have been controlled by someone. You're controlled right now by someone. Everyone is controlled by someone. Our thoughts are controlled by someone. There are people who tell us what we're supposed to believe. Oh, the ancient Egyptians didn't have technology that rivaled our own. Yet, they built pyramids, but we don't know how. We don't know how. Maybe it was aliens. I don't know, man. I really, really don't know. And it's like, but like I said, at the end of the day, you can't prove one way or the other. You really can't. You can believe it, but you can't prove it. Oh, I believe in evolution because I don't believe in God, or evolution makes more sense than God, or God makes more sense than evolution. You're being manipulated. You're being manipulated. Why don't you get a little fucking kit and try to do some chemical tests and shit, and see what you come up with? See, the problem. Nobody takes the initiative to try to figure stuff out. They're willing to have somebody else do it. Like NASA. Oh, here's the first picture of a black hole. Yeah, it looks like a little planet flew in front of the sun. Who the fuck? What the fuck? Seriously. Oh, it's a black hole. It's a picture of a black hole. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. I don't know what it is. They tell me it's a black hole, so, oh, black holes must exist. Of course, it's funny, there was a time when we didn't know if they're black holes. Well, there could be black holes. Then, well, there is black holes, but we can't see it. Oh, now we can see it. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not disparaging it, I'm just saying, I don't think we should just jump into bed with the first idea that comes down the pike. It's like, oh, the ancient Egyptians were stupid. No, they weren't. They were obviously smarter than we are. Seriously, can you move a 5-ton boulder? No, you can't. Can you cut a 5-pound or 500 billion ton rock? No, you can't. Can our base machines today do it? No. So what the fuck? Obviously, they had something we don't. But yet we can't fathom that. We can't accept that. Anyways, I gotta go because my fucking tablet battery bullshit. Whatever. Anyways, whatever. Fuck you.